Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode of Beers and Bites with our special guest, Russ Sherman, the co-founder and CTO of VISO TRUST. I'm Jeremy Murdershaw, CEO of Fortify 24/7, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Chris Jordan, CEO of Fluency Security. So excited for this conversation. If you recall, a few weeks back, we had a conversation with the CEO of VISO TRUST, and now we get the opportunity to get a little bit more technical, hanging out with Russ. So before we jump into that conversation, Russ, what did you bring to drink today?
Today I brought Golden ginger beer from Colorado, here in Colorado. Golden is the city. And I'm pretty excited about it.
So it's a non-alcoholic drink?
It is non-alcoholic. There's sugar in it, though. So that's cane sugar.
Almost as bad as alcohol.
You're right. Yeah. And natural flavor extracts. So I think that's a plus.
It's gonna be
What about
delicious.
y'all? What are y'all drinking today?
Chris, what you got?
Man, I got a freaky one. I got one called Elder Pine. Look at that. It's like matte black. This is crazy. And they have a tasting room up in Gaithersburg, Maryland, and it looks like something out of a Renaissance fair. So yeah, they have this Norse kind of like theme going. They get like old geezer and stuff. That's one of the names of one of their beers. This one's Nordic Broom. But I think these guys must do a lot of drinking and then name the beer after the drinking. Very interesting group. And this, what is this? It's just a regular hazy. What do you got, Jeremy?
Well, today I've got something called Schnuggles. It's got like this cute little Care Bear looking thing on the front of the can from a local brewery called 818 Brewing here in Southern California. It's a hazy double IPA, double dry hopped. I have no idea what that means, but it'll be interesting to see how it tastes. We've got Azacca, Mosaic, and Citra hops in this one, and it's coming in at 8.2%. So if I finish it, we'll see if I need another one.
I'll run to the. Yeah, you know what? I like the Mosaic hops. I mean, those. That's my solid when it comes down to hop selection. There, the Citra and the Mosaic.
There you go.
All right.
Well, cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers. Already cheated.
Cheers,
not bad. So, Russ, tell us about yourself.
Sharp ginger over here.
Sharp ginger.
It's almost like sharp hops. Double ginger.
Double ginger. Double dry aged. So let's set some context. So for those listeners who tuned in and didn't see the episode with Paul, what is VISO TRUST? What is it? What you do? What is your offering? Give us some background there, please.
So Paul and I founded VISO in 2020, and we set about building a network and a product around it that helps businesses understand the risk of doing business with one another, in so far as the likelihood of that other business potentially losing data. And so what we're in a category of businesses in security called third-party cyber risk management or third-party risk management. And we support a due diligence function, right? So I'm about to sign this deal, share a bunch of personal information of my customers with a product or service. But first, I probably want to understand if they're going to protect that data, because their security becomes an extension of my own insofar as if they were to lose my data, I'm in part responsible for sharing it to them in the first place, right? We found that this problem was pretty painful at a number of companies, and that it was mostly manual. It involved human beings reading documents, sending questionnaires, looking at the answers to questions or looking for answers to questions, and set about building a product that uses artificial intelligence alongside a sensible, reasonable user interface to interact with your third-party vendors, to take the time that it normally takes down from months, or in some cases to days and minutes.
Wow. That's so. Is your product targeted to a specific business vertical, or is it just anybody who does business with another business? Is that, or where do you find your sweet spot there?
So we've had success across pretty much any industry that has a function within their company that cares about cyber risk. So financial institutions, biotech firms, tech startups, retail companies. So really, we find that when you begin to care about understanding the risk of doing business with another company, our product is suitable to satisfy that in a sense, either as part of a larger program that's very, very mature, or maybe the entire program to go from not having a mature risk management or third-party risk management function to using our product and having a robust, repeatable, scalable risk management function.
What would you say is if I'm a business that's looking to obtain their SOC 2 certification or their ISO certification, does your product fit in that sense as well, or is that a component of a different system?
Sure. Yeah. So today, what we do is the way I kind of like to describe the difference in our product and what you're describing is we allow you to understand whether a company has a SOC 2 and whether it's good or not very quickly, and allow you to manage understanding whether you'd like for them to produce evidence by some other means, maybe not a SOC 2 or an answer to a question or some other policy document, right? We recognize that SOC 2 is a meaningful and very common way for you to share how good you are at security, or how much you care about security, or what level of investment you have in securing your company. But the reality is, like, a lot of people don't want to share their SOC 2, or when they do, they want it to be shared just between you and them. And we make it very, very easy for businesses to exchange that information and make sense of it. I would say that, just to further on that a little bit, developing and going through the process of procuring a SOC 2 is a large investment, and that alone is a good sign in terms of security maturity, right? You care a lot, but it's largely what's considered a trust effort, right? You're trying to build trust with your clients. Today, VISO primarily serves the client in the client-vendor relationship, and businesses who are looking for your SOC 2, not to produce their own.
Got it. Do you feel that if organizations who were hit with some of these recent supply chain hacks had your tool in place, that could have been prevented?
Absolutely. Understanding the maturity level of the businesses you interact with, and deciding, making risk-based decisions on whether you actually do business with them is an important part of the third-party risk management function. I do believe it's capable of avoiding certain scenarios, like having lost data in a supply chain attack. The other aspect is just having a central place to understand what third parties you have and whether they have been subjected to an attack, or they're the focus of a breach scenario, or potentially kind of exposing your business to risk through some other means, like a 0-day or some other kind of like security event. Having a product like ours allows you to go to one place and say, okay, but which businesses do I share sensitive data with, and by which means? And so therefore may be relevant to a certain new threat out in the world. It also allows you to just ask, do I do business with this company I just learned about having a security problem, and or do my third parties do business with them through the network, right?
The interwebs of connectivity.
Yeah, I mean, we expose what's called a kind of an nth party graph, allowing you to understand, you may do business with a company who does business with another company, and therefore, if those companies have a security problem, you might be impacted, and you might want to interact with them somehow.
That's interesting. What is the level of effort you say a user has to spend in the platform once they've gone through the initial hurdle of inputting all their vendors? What's the usage look like?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So we allow you to kind of like sign up and import all your vendors and connect with systems like your procurement tool, connect with systems that do shadow IT detection, like Netskope, for instance. And once you have a list of your vendors, it's rather straightforward to assign a business owner to them if you need to essentially engage the rest of your business in the process of actively managing the relationship. And from a practitioner sense, it's kind of it's rather low effort, determining whether you want to start an assessment with a vendor or not, and reviewing the results when they're done, and making that informed decision. Do you onboard them? Do you schedule lifecycle management and continue the relationship, or do you move on and look at another vendor, right?
Yeah, congratulations, by the way. You just recently announced the integration with Netskope. So very cool.
Yeah, very excited about that.
All right, Russ. So how did you guys get together to form this company, and where did you come from before?
So Paul and I met originally, we worked at Lending Club. This was 2015. And Lending Club was building out their security program and preparing to go public. So Paul and I were under a lot of pressure alongside other folks to deliver some technology and move the bar forward on a lot of initiatives when it came to information security and privacy. So we formed a quick, deep bond there, and we both have an entrepreneurial spirit at heart. So it worked out great when we were both thinking about starting a company.
Why did he pick you as the CTO? Was it like the short straw, or you were just the geeky one?
No, it was natural because Paul and I worked together in kind of like the business and technology left and right hands for a number of different larger security initiatives at Lending Club. He was influencing and building bridges with other parts of the business, and I was building technology to support some of the stuff that we wanted to accomplish. So we were often, looking at a problem together, advancing kind of the technology with stuff that I was writing or building, and trying to influence people to use it and show the value. So we were road showing and building tools together there, and kind of like a business within a business, so to speak, right?
So were you like CTO because you knew technical security really well, or were you more just plain technical in general?
So my background, my professional background is in deep packet network inspection and intrusion detection, and then general software engineering and automation. So I was writing a lot of software to connect tools and automate manual tasks, right? So, I'm the technical co-founder responsible for, first primarily building the technology, but then building the team that now does it.
Man, that's an interesting twist to go from DPI to security to AI. So,
yeah.
So how did you get to the AI part then?
AI was a natural kind of a natural option in terms of the problem space. It's actually even more obvious now to most people that making sense of unstructured language is one of the primary pain points of third-party cyber risk management and due diligence, right? At the time, I was working on tools for prediction and inference for, detection capabilities like anomaly detection and other things for SOC-related event and incident response. And I think as a technologist in general, I'm just deeply interested in where I see the world going, and it's hard to deny that artificial intelligence is here to stay, and it's going to be a central kind of component of technology moving forward.
So you guys chose a LLM RAG style, right? And so one question would be like, what is the reference material for the RAG? Is it like just standards, or how do you leverage RAG in the type of work that you guys do?
Yeah, so the general capability that we're working on is powered by a number of different kind of fundamental prediction or artificial intelligence methods, right? So RAG is one part of the architecture or the general kind of like approach. we use traditional transformer models. We use NLP pre-trained models. We use, a data set that we've been building since we were founded, and technology we've been designing since we filed for the patent in 2016, I think. Back then, transformer models or GPT was kind of not really a thing, right? But we knew that artificial intelligence was going to power the product. In terms of RAG at VISO, we basically use a combination of traditional embedding and semantic search re-ranking alongside these transformer models, which allow us to do effectively what we call building an assurance model alongside references to detected language that substantiate the efficacy of controls. So we're really, really great at pulling out language that represents, kind of a known control answer to a question, or evidence to support the existence of a certain maturity level in a security program.
Interesting. So basically, in this case here, so first of all, for people who are listening or watching, so go over, what does LLM RAG stand for again?
So large language model retrieval-augmented generation architecture is kind of a newer, but now kind of standard approach of, leveraging the power of a pre-trained, generative model that can essentially generate language, a large language model like OpenAI's ChatGPT, alongside maybe a proprietary or custom data set and answer questions about it. So OpenAI wasn't trained on, your company's ISO report or your internal knowledge base, right? But you want to use that capability to generate language alongside your data set. And so retrieval-augmented generation allows you to do that.
Okay. So like in general, so RAG usually goes and says like, hey, I'm going to give you this answer. Then I'm going to go back to reference documents to make sure that these answers are consistent with a reference. And I'm going to show you what references did it. Are you using the references here? Are they going to be like my FISMA and my ISO standards? Or are there other type of references that you're using?
Right. So in the RAG architecture in general, you can kind of pick your poison in terms of data sets. It just needs to be language, and it could be multimodal as well. For us, it's really anything that could have language related to security. In our problem space, obviously, there's a number of examples of common compliance frameworks like an ISO cert and statement of applicability, or a SOC report. But we can take websites, we can take PDFs, questionnaires, really anything that has language in it, and use that to interact with and derive kind of control efficacy information. And I would say, to your point about taking detections or references and then checking to see if they're an answer, or rather generating an answer and then looking at a detection to see if it supports it. It's kind of like the other way around. So ask a question or interrogate embedded language to derive what those detections might be, and then determine whether they actually substantiate a correct answer to that question, for instance.
I'm just fascinated with the companies that are trying to deal with LLM and AI in general. LLM as an AI is a pain in the ass. Now, do you ever fight with your LLM? Do you ever say like, no, that's wrong? And it comes back and says the same thing over and over again. How many times you prompt it to not do that? Do you ever get in those situations, or has your LLM been really nice to you?
Well, we don't have one LLM, first of all.
Okay.
So we're kind of, similar to the approach of leveraging, multiple different methodologies of inference and prediction. We also don't have lock-in to one single large language model. Mm-hmm. That said, we are firmly grounded in retrieval, and that pun is kind of intended there, right? Mm-hmm. When I look at kind of the results of we call it intelligent question response or prediction, control prediction, artifact intelligence. What I look for is whether we're serving accurate information, and we present the detections alongside them so you can understand whether the answer makes sense or not, right?
I mean, how do you make sure, I find LLM is flaky at times, right? So to use it for security kind of baffles my mind a little bit, but obviously you guys know what you're doing. Like a good example is you can say, hey, tell me about these 5 things. And it really focuses on 2 of them or 3 of them, right? So do you do like repetitive calls and say, here's my governance I want to look for, and then you call it separately in order to keep it focused? Or how do you, what's your design of interacting with, like, I get, TensorFlows and neural networks because they're a little bit more structured, but the LLM to me is a very flaky technology for detail work. I find it. So what do you do to make sure it doesn't freak out on its responses?
So I think the primary kind of control that you have is around the embeddings and source material. And so a large language model, given, view shot and specific prompts, embedded references and language, it's not often, it's very infrequently going to produce, if not ever, a kind of like a hallucination, so to speak. Mm-hmm. When I get frustrated with or if I were to get frustrated with the systems that we're building, it wouldn't be because of the large language model. It's more of our capabilities of really taking a really massive data set and whittling it down to what's actually relevant to the question or the type of information we're looking for. And that's actually less about the large language model, and it's more about the retrieval side. Could we be saving context by using inference in some other way? Are we using kind of weighted algorithms incorrectly in semantic search re-ranking or some other method that takes the input and finds the relevant source material? The large language model, I think, is it's not necessarily as consequential for our use case, right?
So you're feeling that it's more programming and less prompt engineering?
Absolutely. Yeah. We found success with Anthropic, with OpenAI, with Bedrocks and Amazon large language models, assuming the embedding and other architecture is aligned well, they're all suitable for us.
And at the end of the day, so obviously I'm going to use the word governance, right? But you're trying to say, and by the way, first of all, I think it's a very interesting thing that we switched from talking about third-party risk to a lot of times you're using the word trust, right? First of all, how do you feel about those 2 words, risk and trust?
So we recognize that the risk management function is interacting with vendors in their efforts to produce information and build trust, right? Mm-hmm. I think that when we established the company and the name, we were thinking about a central place that you could rely on for accurate information, because in the space of third-party risk management, there's
say it.
There's a trade-off between speed and accuracy, and I think we don't want to make that trade-off. So what we provide is kind of like this reference material. The RAG architecture is kind of a perfect use case for it. I think that it's been very exciting to have a product that's been building around this kind of use case. But when we produce information, we always produce a reference to it. Right. So for instance, this company might have a problem, or they might need you to implement a certain security control because they don't. And here's where they say that, right? Or here's where the SOC 2 has an exception that you might be interested in. Not necessarily like just trust us. This is a medium risk vendor, or don't ask us where the data comes from. Just trust us, right? No, you can actually see and interact with everything that we're using to produce the assessment.
Now, on the one big difference I see from you guys from some of the other third-party risk groups, it seems like you actually talk to the company you're evaluating. You go in there, you help, you look at their stuff as opposed to just scanning them from the outside.
Right. So you can provide artifacts yourself on behalf of a third party. If you've gotten them somehow, you can point us to a business. We have a large network of information we've gathered that's publicly available, but oftentimes you need to interact with that business, and the experience for them is actually perhaps the most important. And we make it very easy for a third party to respond to an information collection effort and provide whatever they have to substantiate their security program, whether it be a SOC 2 or some questionnaire they answered for somebody else already. We'll take it all and we'll help our client make sense of it.
Okay. Now, does the client has anybody come to you yet and said, you know what, could you just run your own processes against my company? Has anybody ever done that approach and say, hey, you know what, can you tell me if I should trust myself?
Sure. So we have, products around trust in your own internal trust function. We allow you to build your own profile and add artifacts, interrogate it with questionnaires or questions. We expose artifact intelligence through Slack, for instance, to do chat ops. So for instance, if you're tired of answering questions about your own security program internally, your colleagues can ask of your intelligence those same questions through Slack or through the application, right? This is a key component of affording our vendors or the third parties interacting with our product a much more friendly experience as the product develops. But today we don't primarily serve like a trust building function or trust profile yet.
Interesting. Do you ever think about, Jeremy, I just think of all the possibilities for this. Like one, I'm just envisioning in my head, like everybody on Slack talking to each other. And instead of having one trying to tell me where it sees problems with my risk, it just goes ahead and writes the procedures I'm missing, right? I mean, it seems if you're good enough to tell me what's a problem, you should be good enough to tell me how to solve it.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know. What are you thinking, Jeremy?
I think that's an interesting spin on the platform, but probably not the route.
Not their business model.
Not their business model. Yeah.
Did you guys raise money, Russ?
Yeah, we've raised money. We founded the company in 2020. We had our first customers then and raised a seed round. We raised money again in 2021. Yeah, we're venture backed and yeah, growing.
Growing is an important part. Shrinking is not any good. See, I'm already stuttering. Not even on beer number 2 yet.
So how was your experience this year at RSA? Now that it's like officially less COVID in the world, right? Everyone was back in person for the first time and in mass. How was that experience?
RSA is pretty surreal. I mean, I think these larger, I'm a DEF CON guy, not a Black Hat guy, right? But now I'm at Black Hat. Now we have a booth at RSA, and it's been a really interesting kind of learning experience. And it's not my comfort zone, but that's great. I love that. For me, RSA is kind of like probably like a lot of folks, like a reunion, so to speak. Now, I used to work in San Francisco, right near Moscone. So RSA was like, do you want to go stop by the floor on lunch? And now it's kind of a pilgrimage. And I'm speaking with customers, I'm speaking with team members at our company and catching up and it's just so much different now for me. I think I'm very happy to see it back after, I remember the RSA in 2020
it was sketchy.
It was very sketchy. But either way, it's great. I mean, you walk the floor and it's just, we're back, baby. Right.
Exactly.
Like everyone's here again. And,
Jeremy, I was going to say, we were supposed to meet with, what's that company? The the sim company that does behavioral. God, it's escaping me. Anyways, so we were supposed to meet with them. The people were supposed to meet with them. One of them died from COVID.
Oh, ouch.
They had COVID. Oh, it was terrible. It was like, oh my God, I'm glad we didn't go to that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as
because
far
they
as
pushed it. Yeah.
as far as customer response, like let's say demand leads, viable leads, or maybe even close customer contracts, which was better for you this year? RSA or Red Hat or
Black Hat?
I said Red Hat. Black Hat.
Dude.
White Hat.
RSA this year was kind of more productive, I think, for me. Black Hat was nice because I ended up going to DEF CON afterwards, and again, for me, like I want to get back into the CTF. I want to be, I had a blast in the large language model CTF.
Which team were you with?
Pardon?
Which team did you go with?
Well, I haven't been participating in a while. The last time I was alongside folks in Samurai, but that was years ago. If I think about Black Hat this year, I think about meeting a lot of other startups and talking about challenges and going to market, and some executives and go to market kind of, for me, is more about kind of like hearing directly from the customer. And first, I don't know if it was just coincidence, but RSA this year was kind of more productive insofar as I was able to kind of meet with current customers and build stronger relationships and maybe close a few deals.
That's good. More importantly, when you were at Black Hat, did you get to race in the Lamborghini?
No, I did not. No, I'm jealous though.
Would you let Paul do that? That's not fair.
I don't know if Paul got to. I know a couple people did. I was really happy to see that the giveaway kind of was successful in that way, right?
Did you do something similar in RSA, or did you just do that for Black Hat? For those who don't know, if you would have gone to the Black Hat conference this past August in Las Vegas, you would have had a chance to race or drive, perhaps is a better way, in a Lamborghini Gallardo somewhere in Vegas, just for stopping by the booth and visiting the VISO Trust guys. Trust guys.
Yeah, everyone's trying to attract people to their booth, and that was, the thrill seekers stopped by, I guess. There was two people who got selected, and they both, they showed up. I don't know why they wouldn't, but because sometimes I kind of feel like, and I heard they both had a blast. So that's cool.
Yeah, right on. So as we approach the close of our session, we always like to do a speed round kind of questions, hit you up with a few things back to back. You throw out a softball. What's your favorite sport?
Hockey.
Nice. Now you've +1. Favorite team? Don't say the
Avalanche.
The Blackhawks. Probably second in line for your don't say this team, but yeah.
I used to have that one. Remember the old hockey games where you have the sticks and you slide the guys and spin them?
Mm-hmm.
Pole hockey.
The pole hockey it was always the Blackhawks versus the Blues.
Mm-hmm.
That was a very popular combination.
I always played USA versus Canada in those games.
There you go. Yeah, that's bubble hockey.
That seems to be like the 3-dimensional players. My guys were like 2-dimensional.
Okay, yeah.
That sounded like an expensive set right there.
All right. So are you a Bedard fan, or who's your favorite player?
How can you not be a Bedard fan? I think like everyone is really anxious about that. I lived in Chicago, and it was for a few years before, and then during their kind of like reign. And it was just another reason to fall in love with that city. Everyone's behind all their sports teams so much, and it was very exciting. I only got into hockey later in life. Yeah,
it's a sweet jersey, though. It's a sweet jersey.
I think it's consistently voted, top design, and I think like they have the full support of the, First Nations or, other folks. So it's great. It's great in that way too, right? Like they're properly representing, making an effort to do that.
All right. So what's your opinion on the rumor, or what's your opinion of why Corey Perry was kicked off the team?
I mean, I think it's total nonsense. I don't know what happened, but at the end of the day, I wasn't very happy about Perry being on the team anyway. So I'm not that disappointed.
Right. He was chasing cups.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Jeremy, I just have to say, Paul said he didn't like hockey.
I know. That's why we're not having Paul back. We like Russ better.
Paul back.
Paul and I are like in a lot of ways. And we work really well together, but there's a lot of things we're not very similar on. And I think hockey fan is definitely one of those.
All right. What's your favorite food?
Home baked sourdough bread.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you have your own starter?
Yeah, I got a starter. I'm fermenting, for starters, and fermenting kombucha. Make my own kombucha.
That's what you should have brought. You should have brought some of that.
I should have. Yeah, I didn't have time. I'm sorry.
I wonder how hard is that process to make kombucha?
It's not hard. It's easy. It's a little bit time consuming. It's definitely easier than brewing beer. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It's all about timing. That's it.
It's like a slimy mushroom at the end of the day is what it is, right? That you're drinking.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like it. I just never looked in too deeply into what's under the covers there.
Yeah, it's a good thing. I didn't either. So you brought that up. Now I'm gonna oh man.
So what's your favorite?
You guys like beer? You like? I mean, these are all microbes and they're delicious.
Sure.
You gotta embrace nature's.
Hops really isn't that slimy though. So Russ, I mean, I think the other softball question on the end is, what's your favorite DEF CON story? Ooh. Everybody has like a true DEF CON story. Is it one that we can talk about?
I have a friend that broke their leg at DEF CON. Let's say doing some physical pen testing work. That was pretty gnarly.
Sanctioned testing work.
What's that?
Was it like in the heat of the moment, some pen testing work, or was it sanctioned, or does that matter? It's Vegas.
I can't say. They were somewhere they weren't supposed to be. Let's just say that.
Fair.
And yeah, I mean, a highlight for me is always just like connecting with old pals, right? I mean, like it's like time stands still there, right?
Yeah.
Every time I go back and meet up with friends and former colleagues, it's like we're back in the sock and we're having a blast. It's great.
I think the last question I have for you is, how did you come up with the logo? And is there some significance to the hand and the eyeball? And
Sure. Yeah. So the inspiration comes from the Hamza. It's kind of a known kind of icon, and meant to protect from evil. And I think we like it because it's striking, but it also has that kind of storied, kind of ancient, story of protection from evil. And I do think that we are a trusted source of information that helps people avoid problems, protects you in a sense, right? And for that reason, I'm really happy with it.
Well, that's great. I think it's cool. When I first saw it, I was like, hieroglyphics. Where did this come from? I started trying to dig into the iconography. Mm-hmm. Came up with some interesting wackadoodle stuff and some, but
yeah. And VISO, the name, it's an acronym for Vendor Information Security Oracle.
Ooh.
Okay.
Paul didn't give us that one.
That is a nugget. I was like, how did you come up with the long eye versus short eye approach to the word? That was my concern.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I think there's a Spanish word for light and shedding light. It all works well together. It's great. It's if you dig into it, it really makes a lot of sense.
Right on. Well, you know what? We want to thank you for joining us this week on the Beers and Bites podcast. It's been a great conversation. Hopefully,
the pleasure has been mine. I really appreciate it. It's been great chatting, and congrats to all of y'all's success. And
likewise.
And you can sign up for free for VISO at visotrust.com/sign up.
Well, we should have stuck that at the very beginning.
I think we can do that again. Yeah, I want to actually thank 818 Brewing, because
that was excellent.
That was a very good beer. And again, it's called the Schnuggles. And if you're in the Southern California beer aisle, you might be able to find it, especially if you're in the Valley. So definitely check it out.
I really think they should have been called Care Beer, like Care Bear.
Care Beer.
Care Beer.
And he has like a little stein on his tummy.
That's perfect. I think we have a new logo idea.
New giveaway.
That's right. Well, thank you, everyone. Once again, like us, subscribe. There's buttons here. I don't know.
One of these days.
Someday Kingsley's going to put them in there, but
Smash it.
we'll
Wherever
see.
it is, smash it.
Awesome. Thank you. Take care.
Cool.